Hey guys, tonight, we're traveling back to the brutal, frozen landscapes where the Vikings endured some of history's harshest winters. Life wasn't easy in the icy north. Freezing temperatures, relentless storms, and scarce resources tested their strength and willpower every single day. Imagine villagers huddled around flickering fires, families relying on ingenuity, ancient traditions, and fierce determination to survive when the world outside was a frozen wilderness. This sleeping story will take you deep into their homes and hearts, showing you how they preserved food, crafted clothing, and stayed united through the coldest months. If you've ever wondered how the Vikings overcame such brutal conditions and thrived despite the odds, this 2-hour journey is for you. So before we begin, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment with your location, and stay with me till the very end, because this is a story that will warm your soul even in the coldest night. The first pale light of dawn stretched slowly over the Viking homeland, a land shaped by jagged fjords and endless forests blanketed in snow. The sharp cliffs stood silent, their sheer faces etched by centuries of ice and sea. Below, the waters of the fjords lay still and dark, frozen edges creeping silently outward like slow-moving shadows. A biting chill hung in the air, crisp and sharp enough to catch the breath and paint cheeks with cold fire. The wind whispered softly through the towering pine trees, bending their branches under the weight of fresh snowflakes, each one a delicate crystal falling gently to the earth. The forest floor was muffled beneath a thick blanket of white, softening the steps of animals and humans alike. The only sounds were the occasional crack of ice shifting, a distant call of a raven, or the faint rustle of small creatures moving cautiously through the frozen underbrush. The Vikings awoke in their wooden longhouses nestled close to the rocky shores, their homes a refuge against the relentless cold. From within, the warmth of peat fires flickered softly, casting dancing shadows that chased away the gray light of early winter mornings. Outside, the landscape was transformed into a realm of ice and silence, a vast expanse where the sharp edges of rock met the smooth surfaces of ice, and the horizon blurred into pale mist. The sea itself was a formidable presence, frozen in places, its icy breath reaching far inland. The crashing waves had stilled, replaced by the brittle crack of frozen waters, shifting beneath the weight of snow and wind. Yet beneath this cold, seemingly inhospitable world, life persisted. The Vikings carried a quiet resilience in their hearts, a deep understanding of the land's rhythms and challenges. They faced the harsh winters not with fear, but with a solemn respect and steady preparation. The air smelled of pine, wood smoke, and the sharp tang of frost. Each breath was a reminder of the world's raw beauty and unforgiving power. The cold seeped into bones, but it also sharpened senses and strengthened spirit. As the sun rose higher, its weak light glinted off the icy surfaces, casting a crystalline glow that sparkled like scattered diamonds across the snow. The world was both dazzling and daunting, a silent kingdom, ruled by winter's hand. The Vikings moved with purpose through this frozen land, their footsteps leaving clear prints in the snow, a testament to their presence and endurance. Each breath formed clouds of mist, swirling and dissolving in the cold air. Despite the biting chill, there was a profound stillness, a pause in the cycle of life that invited reflection and resilience. The harsh environment shaped the Vikings' character, forging a people capable of withstanding winter's relentless grip. The frozen fjords, towering cliffs, and endless forests were both adversaries and companions, challenges to be met with skill and courage, and sources of strength and identity. The land's stark beauty was a daily reminder of the delicate balance between survival and surrender, where every moment held the possibility of hardship and hope. The Vikings' hearts beat steadily against the cold, anchored by traditions and community, by the knowledge passed down through generations. Their connection to this frozen world was deep and unspoken, a bond formed in the quiet mornings before the sun's warmth could soften the frost. The air was still, save for the faint crunch of snow beneath worn leather boots as a lone figure stepped toward the edge of the fjord. Her breath rose in gentle clouds, mingling with the icy mist that clung to the water's surface. The cold wrapped around her like a familiar cloak, sharp but honest, a force to be respected rather than feared. She paused to listen, the subtle creaking of frozen wood, the distant howl of the wind weaving through rocky outcrops, the soft call of seabirds braving the chill. These sounds, though sparse, formed a quiet symphony that marked the rhythm of life in the frozen north. The forests behind her stood tall and silent, their branches heavy with snow and ice. Among the pines, the occasional flicker of movement revealed hardy animals adapted to the cold. A fox weaving through the underbrush, a stag standing still in the distance, its breath visible in the cold air. Life persisted here in stark contrast to the harshness surrounding it, a testament to endurance and adaptation. The Vikings understood this balance deeply, embracing both the beauty and brutality of their homeland. The day's light shifted slowly, softening the edges of the landscape. Shadows stretched long across the snow, and the frozen sea glimmered faintly beneath the pale sky. The Vikings' settlements were nestled carefully among the rocky shores, where wood and stone formed strong homes to shield against winter's wrath. Smoke rose in thin ribbons from chimneys, carrying the scent of burning peat and wood into the crisp air. Inside these locked houses, warmth battled against the cold, the steady glow of firelight promising refuge and comfort. The walls, built thick with timber and insulated with moss and animal hides, held the life-giving heat close. The quiet inside contrasted with the stillness outside, a safe haven where families gathered, stories were shared, and plans for survival were made. The frozen world beyond the walls was daunting, but the Vikings met it with determination and ingenuity. Their spirits were as unyielding as the ice that gripped their lands, fueled by knowledge, skill, and the strength of community. As dusk settled, the cold deepened. The wind whispered through the trees and across the fjord, carrying the sharp scent of frost and sea. The Viking people moved steadily through their routines, their breath forming small clouds that drifted and vanished into the twilight. In this frozen land, every day was a challenge, every moment a test of resilience. Yet beneath the harsh surface lay a profound respect for nature's power and a fierce love for the life it sustained. The Viking heart beat strong and steady, a flame burning bright amid winter's grasp. The village settled deeper into the quiet embrace of evening as the last pale light faded behind towering mountains. The cold air grew sharper, carrying with it the scent of frozen earth and distant pines. Smoke curled softly from chimneys, weaving into the sky like fragile threads of warmth against the biting chill. Inside the longhouses, the steady glow of fires cast flickering shadows on rough wooden walls, creating a sanctuary of light amid the growing darkness. The Vikings moved with practiced preparing meals, tending fires, and ensuring that every child and elder was safely sheltered. The cold outside was relentless, but within these walls, a circle of warmth and care held strong. Their breath mingled with the scent of burning peat and cooked fish, a comforting aroma that filled the air. The crackle of the fire was a constant companion, its steady rhythm a heartbeat of survival. Despite the harshness of the winter landscape, there was a deep sense of peace woven into these moments, quiet confidence, born from centuries of endurance. The frozen fjord, the snow-laden forests, and the icy seas were not just obstacles, but familiar elements of a world the Vikings knew intimately. They honored this connection through ritual and respect, acknowledging the power and beauty that shaped their lives. In the hush of winter's grip, the Vikings' resilience shone brightest, a testament to the strength of spirit forged in frost and shadow. The cold deepened with nightfall, wrapping the land in a quiet, frosty stillness. The stars began to pierce the dark sky, their sharp light reflecting off the icy surfaces like scattered jewels. The fjords, now sealed in ice, lay silent and mysterious, their depths hidden beneath a frozen veil. The forests, heavy with snow, stood as silent sentinels guarding the land. In the village, the flickering firelight illuminated faces weathered by cold winds and hard work. The Vikings' eyes held a mixture of determination and quiet contemplation, reflecting their readiness to face the long winter ahead. The biting chill was ever present, but it was met with layers of thick wool and fur, homes fortified against the cold, and a spirit unbroken by hardship. The night carried a hushed reverence, a time for rest and reflection amid the vast, frozen wilderness. The Vikings knew that survival required not only strength, but wisdom, an understanding of the land's cycles, and a respect for its power. In this frozen kingdom, They found both challenge and belonging, a harsh beauty that shaped their lives and forged their identity. The night air was crisp, carrying whispers of distant waves crashing gently against the frozen shores. The fjord stretched out like a vast, icy mirror, reflecting the pale glow of the moon hanging low in the sky. Beneath the thick blanket of snow, the land held secrets of survival, hidden roots, burrowing animals, and the slow pulse of life that persisted. Despite winter's harsh grasp, Vikings understood these quiet rhythms intimately. Their eyes were keen, trained to notice the subtle signs of approaching storms or the delicate shifts in animal trails beneath the snow. Within the village, wooden beams creaked softly as the wind weaved through narrow gaps, a constant reminder of nature's presence. Yet the longhouses stood firm, fortified by generations of knowledge and craftsmanship. Smoke curled upward from stone hearths, weaving through the air with a comforting scent of burning wood and peat. The warmth within was a sacred refuge, a vital contrast to the cold and darkness outside. The people gathered closely, their breath rising in soft clouds as they moved through the routines that anchored their lives during winter's grip. Food was carefully rationed and preserved, shared with respect and gratitude among the tribe. Every morsel was treasured, each act of sharing reinforcing bonds that sustained both body and spirit. The cold shaped not only the landscape, but the very character of the Vikings, fostering resilience, cooperation, and a fierce sense of belonging. Outside, the sky shimmered with the faint dance of northern lights, ethereal curtains of green and violet rippling silently across the heavens. This celestial display was a reminder of the world's mysteries and the enduring spirit of those who lived beneath it. In these moments, the Vikings found solace and inspiration, drawing strength from the land and sky to face the long winter days ahead. The crackling of the fire mingled with soft murmurs as families settled into the warmth of their homes. Flickering flames cast a golden glow on wooden beams and the woven hides that lined the floors, transforming the longhouse into a sanctuary of light and life. Outside, the wind whispered through the pines, carrying the scent of frost and pine. Resin it pressed against the walls, a relentless reminder of winter's hold. But inside, the steady hum of daily life offered comfort and strength. The Vikings moved with practiced efficiency, their movements deliberate and calm. Men tended to sharpening tools and repairing fishing nets, preparing for the frozen seas and snow-covered forests that awaited beyond their doors. Women gathered to spin wool, their fingers deftly twisting fibers into threads, creating the warm garments that would shield them from the unforgiving cold. The soft sound of weaving intertwined with the crackle of the fire, creating a soothing backdrop to the evening's work. Children played quietly in the corner, their laughter a bright spark against the muted tones of winter. They learned early the rhythms of survival, the importance of patience, cooperation, and respect for the natural world. The longhouse echoed with stories told in low voices, tales of ancestors who had braved winters even harsher than these. These stories were more than history. They were lessons, warnings, and inspirations woven into the fabric of Viking culture. The cold outside was an ever-present force, but within the community's embrace, warmth and hope flourished. The Vikings' deep connection to their land was evident in every gesture, from the careful tending of fires to the reverent preparation of meals. Each act was a thread in the tapestry of endurance and belonging. The night stretched on, wrapped in a hush that held both rest and readiness. The land's harsh beauty shaped the Vikings' lives, but it also fueled their spirit, fierce, adaptable, and unyielding. The cold night deepened, blanketing the land in stillness. The crisp air held the faint scent of frozen pine and the subtle whisper of snow settling softly on the earth. Within the walls of the longhouse, the Vikings found warmth not only in fire and fur, but in the steadfast bonds of community. The shared tasks, the quiet conversations, and the simple presence of one another created a resilience that transcended the chill outside. A woman carefully stirred a pot of thick stew, its rich aroma filling the space with the promise of nourishment and comfort. The stew was made from salted fish, preserved roots, and dried herbs, a testament to the foresight and skill needed to endure the long winter. She ladled the hearty meal into wooden bowls, passing them gently to children and elders alike. The act of sharing was sacred, an expression of care and gratitude that strengthened the tribe's unity. Men gathered near the fire, their voices low as they discussed plans for hunting and fishing in the days ahead. Ice would soon cover the rivers and seas, and every expedition required courage, preparation, and knowledge of the land's hidden paths. The flickering firelight danced across determined faces, reflecting the Viking spirit, fierce yet grounded, ready to face whatever the winter might bring. Outside, the moon cast a pale silver glow over the snow-covered landscape, illuminating the sharp silhouettes of pine trees and the frozen fields. The world was transformed into a silent, glistening kingdom of ice and shadow. The Vikings slept in layered furs, their breaths slow and steady, bodies rested and ready for the challenges of the coming day. In this frozen land, survival was woven from countless acts of preparation, skill, and unwavering will. The harshness of winter was met with patience and strength, a testament to the enduring legacy of the Vikings and their deep connection to the land. The chill of early winter settled deeply over the Viking village, wrapping the land in a quiet urgency. The people moved with purpose, their hands steady and skilled as they prepared for the months when the world outside would be locked in frost and silence. Near the edge of the settlement stood the smokehouse, a simple wooden structure heavy with the scent of burning wood and rich, cured fish. The air inside was thick and warm, carrying the sharp aroma of smoke that clung to the hanging rows of salted meats and fish. Long strips of cod, herring, and salmon swung gently from sturdy beams, their surfaces taut and glistening faintly beneath layers of salt. The drying process was slow and deliberate, a patient dance between preservation and transformation that had been perfected through generations. The crackle of embers and the steady hiss of smoke provided a constant soundtrack to this sacred work. The smokehouse was more than a place of storage. It was a testament to the Vikings' intimate relationship with fire, air, and time. Outside, the cold wind bit sharply, but inside the cellar carved into the earth, temperatures were cool and steady, ideal for storing root vegetables, dried berries, and fermented goods. Wooden barrels and woven baskets were stacked neatly, filled with sauerkraut, pickled cabbage, and turnips steeped in brine. The scent was tangy and earthy, a fragrant promise of nourishment waiting patiently through the winter months. Vikings gathered in small groups to tend the preparations, sharing tools, knowledge, and stories as they worked. Their movements were rhythmic and unhurried, reflecting a deep understanding that this labor was vital to their survival. Women and men worked side by side, their hands deftly salting slabs of meat, slicing thin strips of fish, and layering vegetables with care. The steady repetition of their tasks created a quiet harmony, a communal ritual that bound them together. Bundles of herbs, juniper berries, thyme, and wild garlic were woven into the fish and meat, imparting subtle flavors that also helped preserve freshness. The aroma was pungent but comforting, mingling with the wood smoke and salty brine. The sound of knives slicing against bone and wood echoed softly, punctuated by low voices exchanging advice and encouragement. Dried fish, known as stockfish, was prized for its long shelf life and dense nutrition. Hanging from rafters, the fish slowly lost moisture, becoming light and brittle, while retaining a concentrated flavor that could sustain the tribe through lean times. Fermentation was another key preservation method, a process that required patience and careful attention. Crocks of fermented milk and vegetables bubbled gently, their sour scents a sign of life and vitality trapped within. The Vikings understood fermentation not only as preservation, but as transformation, turning humble ingredients into rich, flavorful staples. Throughout the village, the pulse of preparation was steady and sure. From the smokehouse to the root cellar, every space was alive with quiet purpose. As the days grew shorter and colder, these preparations became a lifeline, the bridge between summer's abundance and winter's scarcity. The smell of drying herbs, the salty tang of cured fish, and the earthy aroma of fermented roots created a sensory tapestry that filled the Viking world with warmth and hope. Each preserved bite was a story of labor, knowledge, and respect for the land's gifts. The patient hands that prepared this food were also hands that cared deeply for family and community. The rhythm of preservation was a dance with time itself, a steady heartbeat that echoed through generations. The cold air outside was sharp and biting, but inside the communal hall, The atmosphere was thick with the warmth of shared effort and quiet determination. Large wooden tables bore the fruits of the season's harvest, rows of salted fish, bundles of dried herbs, and baskets brimming with root vegetables ready for storage. Vikings moved methodically, each person performing a vital task in the ongoing process of securing sustenance for the harsh months ahead. Women carefully laid thin slices of meat on wooden racks, sprinkling them with coarse salt that glistened under the flickering light of oil lamps. The salt was more than a seasoning. It was a preservative, drawing out moisture and creating an environment inhospitable to decay. The texture of the meat changed as it cured, becoming firmer and more resilient, a practical transformation, born of patience and skill. Nearby, fishmongers sorted freshly caught cod and herring, cleaning and gutting each with precise practiced motions. The cool scent of sea mingled with the sharper tang of salt and smoke, filling the air with an unmistakable aroma of survival. Smoking was a craft honed to perfection. The wood smoke curled slowly through the air, imparting flavor and protection, its gentle kiss sealing the fish and meat from The Vikings understood the balance. Too little smoke, and the food would perish. Too much could overwhelm the delicate taste. The sound of firewood crackling in the smokehouse was a comforting constant, a reminder of the elemental forces harnessed for preservation. In dark, cool cellars beneath the houses, large earthenware pots held fermenting vegetables, sauerkraut bubbling quietly as natural bacteria worked their magic. The Vikings treasured these fermented foods, not only for their longevity but for their nutritional benefits, especially in winter when fresh produce was scarce. The pungent yet inviting aroma of fermentation filled these underground chambers, mingling with the damp earth and faint traces of moss. Communal efforts extended beyond food preparation. Men and women worked together to repair storage barrels, mend fishing nets, and reinforce smokehouse walls, ensuring every part of the preservation process was secure. The sense of shared responsibility was palpable, each task a thread in the fabric of community resilience. Children watched with wide eyes, learning through observation and participation the skills they would one day master. The preparation for winter was as much a rite of passage as a practical necessity. The slow, steady rhythm of work was punctuated by moments of laughter, exchanged stories, and quiet reflection. These were the bonds that sustained the Vikings. As surely as their preserved stores, the sun's pale light filtered through small windows, casting soft beams onto the busy scene below. The village was alive with the purposeful energy of survival. Deliberate and hopeful. The Vikings' relationship with food was a sacred one, an intricate dance of respect, knowledge, and patience. Each preserved piece carried the essence of summer's bounty, transformed and guarded through the skillful hands of the tribe. The steady cadence of preparation was a promise that despite winter's grip, life would endure, nourished by tradition and tenacity. The process of preserving food extended beyond immediate survival. It was an act of cultural continuity and ingenuity. The Vikings understood that their methods passed down through countless winters were a bridge between generations, a way to honor the land's gifts while securing their future. In the dim light of the smokehouse, men and women worked side by side, their movements synchronized like a well-rehearsed dance. The scent of pine wood smoke mixed with the salty temps of cured fish, creating an atmosphere both intense and comforting. Careful hands trimmed excess fat from slabs of meat before salting, ensuring even drying and preventing spoilage. Each piece was examined closely, the texture firm yet pliable, a sign that preservation was proceeding well. Bundles of herbs like juniper and thyme were tucked carefully among the meats, their natural oils adding subtle flavors and further protecting the food. The aromatic scent drifted softly, a reminder of the delicate balance between nature and human craft. Beyond the smokehouse, root cellars were dug deep into the earth, cool and dark sanctuaries where potatoes, turnips, and carrots lay in wait. The walls were lined with straw and moss, natural insulators that helped maintain steady temperatures through freezing nights and thawing days. In these underground chambers, the air was damp but stable, carrying the faint earthy scent of soil and vegetation. Here, food rested patiently, its life extended by careful tending and knowledge of natural cycles. The villagers moved steadily through their preparations, knowing that each preserved bite would sustain them through the long winter nights, and on certain days ahead, the steady rhythm of work was accompanied by quiet conversations, advice passed, stories shared, and laughter breaking through the cold. These moments of connection were as vital as the food itself. Vikings also practiced fermentation, a process both mysterious and practical. Crocks of cabbage and milk were left to ferment slowly, the natural bacteria transforming simple ingredients into nourishing staples rich with flavor and life-giving properties. The bubbling surface of the fermenting pots was a sign of vitality, a reminder that even in the depths of winter, life found ways to flourish. Through these ancient methods, Vikings demonstrated remarkable adaptability and understanding, harnessing nature's processes to their advantage. Their food preservation was a blend of science, art, and tradition, a testament to human resilience in the face of nature's harshest challenges. The early morning light barely penetrated the dense smoke drifting from the village's smokehouse, where thick slabs of fish and meat hung patiently, their surfaces drying and darkening under the watchful eye of seasoned hands. The cold air outside nipped sharply at exposed skin, but inside, the heavy scent of pine smoke created a comforting haze. The Vikings moved deliberately, understanding that each day spent tending to the preservation was a day invested in survival and security. Salt, harvested from the sea or mined from natural deposits, was a precious commodity. Its crystalline grains sparkled like tiny stars as it was sprinkled over freshly caught fish and meat, drawing moisture from the flesh and inhibiting decay. The texture of salted meat was firm, with a faint graininess that spoke of transformation. Through time, it was food, both practical and treasured, its preparation a careful ritual. Alongside the meats, bundles of dried herbs were arranged to infuse the curing process with subtle flavors and protective qualities. The scent of juniper berries, wild thyme, and rosemary mingled, a fragrant shield against spoilage. Women worked around large wooden barrels filled with root vegetables submerged in brine, the slow fermentation transforming these humble foods into tangy, nutrient-rich staples. The bubbling surface of these barrels was a sign of life and renewal amid winter's dormancy. The cellar beneath the longhouse was cool and dark, lined with moss and straw to protect the stored food from frost and moisture. The scent of earth and preserved harvests filled the space, a sanctuary of sustenance and hope. In this quiet environment, the Vikings practiced patience, knowing that the fruits of their labor would endure, sustaining them through months when the land offered little else. The community's efforts were intertwined, fishermen, hunters, gatherers, and household keepers, each playing a vital role in the cycle of preparation. Together, they wove a fabric of resilience, binding the tribe's survival to the careful stewardship of nature's gifts. The slow pace of food preparation was a rhythm that grounded the Vikings, a reminder of their place within the natural world and the passage of seasons. Every preserved morsel carried a story of diligence, knowledge, and care, a legacy handed down and honored through each winter's end. The steady rhythm of chopping, salting, and hanging food filled the village with a purposeful energy. Hands weathered and skilled moved with practiced ease, slicing thick cuts of meat, gutting fish with precision, and carefully threading bundles of herbs through the drying racks. The aroma was a complex tapestry, smoky wood mingling with the salty temps of curing fish and the sharp scent of fresh herbs. This sensory symphony was a constant reminder of the life-sustaining work underway. Families gathered to share in these labors, weaving strong social bonds as they prepared for the long, unforgiving winter ahead. Children watched and learned, their eyes wide with curiosity as they absorbed the wisdom of their elders. Outside, the cold wind carried the soft crunch of snow underfoot, while inside, the firelight cast flickering warmth over determined faces. Preservation was both an art and a necessity, every step performed with care to ensure the food would endure. Drying meats required patience. Too fast, and the meat could spoil. Too slow, and moisture would invite decay. The smokehouse's wooden walls absorbed years of aromatic smoke, imbuing each batch of cured food with a distinctive flavor unique to the place and its people. Fermentation, too, was a delicate balance. Barrels needed to be tended and sealed properly to foster the right environment for transformation. These foods were more than mere nourishment. They were symbols of survival, cooperation, and respect for the earth's cycles. As the day wore on, the village prepared for the night, knowing that the stores they were building now would carry them through months of darkness and cold. The patient work of preservation was a quiet but powerful testament to the Vikings' enduring spirit, a blend of knowledge, tradition, and steadfast care. The long, cold nights meant that the Vikings relied heavily on these preserved stores, and the care taken in preparation was a matter of life and death. Each piece of smoked fish or salted meat was a thread in the fabric that held the community together. Through the harshest months, the patience required to preserve food was mirrored in the steady rhythms of daily life, a calm persistence that defined the Viking spirit. In the smokehouse, the fire was tended with great care, its embers glowing steadily as wisps of smoke curled upward, carrying with them the rich aroma of curing food. The warmth was both physical and symbolic, a light against the encroaching cold and darkness. Communal feasts celebrated the harvest and the beginning of winter preparations, where stories and laughter mingled with the flavors of smoked meats and fermented vegetables. These gatherings reinforced bonds and reminded the Vikings of their shared strength. The cycle of gathering, preserving, and sharing was a testament to their intimate understanding of nature's gifts and demands. Through generations, knowledge was passed down: the best wood for smoking, the precise salting techniques, the right time to harvest and ferment. These traditions were the pillars upon which survival rested. The Vikings' patience and foresight in food preservation revealed a profound respect for time and the natural world, lessons as relevant now as they were then. The chill and the air pressed on the village as twilight settled, yet within the smokehouses and cellars, a quiet warmth and steady rhythm persisted. Vikings worked through the fading light, their breath forming small clouds that mingled with the dense, fragrant smoke. Each task was performed with careful deliberation, slicing, salting, hanging, and tending actions woven together by a shared purpose. The preserved foods, heavy with salt and smoke, were packed tightly in wooden containers and tucked safely away, guarded against the shifting temperatures and the slow creep of moisture. Fermentation barrels were sealed with thick lids, their contents bubbling softly as natural processes worked to transform simple vegetables into rich, nourishing staples. In the communal halls, laughter and quiet conversations echoed softly as the village prepared for the long nights ahead. The preservation of food was not only a practical necessity, but a sacred ritual that bound the community. Through this ritual, the Vikings found strength and reassurance, knowing that their hard work would sustain them through winter's darkest days. Their connection to the land and sea was reflected in every preserved morsel, a deep gratitude for nature's bounty and a humble acceptance of its challenges. The steady cadence of work and care forged a rhythm that echoed through the generations, a testament to resilience and hope. The evening deepened, and as the last rays of sunlight slipped beneath the horizon, the village slowed its pace, but not its vigilance. Families gathered close to the hearth, sharing simple meals made from the fruits of their preservation. Hearty stews thickened with dried root vegetables, slices of smoked fish, and dense bread, baked from stored grains. The taste was rich and satisfying, a reward earned through months of careful preparation and labor. Each bite carried the essence of summer's abundance, transformed by time and care into sustenance that could weather the coldest nights. The crackling firelight danced across faces lined with experience and hope, illuminating eyes that reflected the deep bond between people and place. Though winter's grip was harsh and unrelenting, the Vikings met it with a spirit tempered by knowledge and a steadfast commitment to survival. The cycle of preservation was a sacred rhythm, a blend of patience, skill, and respect for the land's offerings. As night enveloped the village, the smell of smoke and salted food lingered in the air, a comforting reminder that, despite the cold and darkness, life endured. The Vikings rested beneath layers of wool and fur, their dreams carried on the steady pulse of tradition and community. The crackling embers of the fire cast long, flickering shadows as the village settled into a quiet calm. Outside, the cold was relentless, but within the longhouses, a sense of warmth and security prevailed. Vikings carefully wrapped salted meats and smoked fish in treated animal hides, ensuring their preserved stores would remain safe from moisture and pests. The rough texture of the hides contrasted with the firm surfaces of the cured foods, a tactile reminder of the many layers of care involved in preservation. Barrels filled with fermented vegetables were tightly sealed with wooden lids, and weighted stones to keep the brine below the surface, preventing the gentle bubbling was a sign of life, a quiet promise of nourishment during the darkest months. The air was thick with the mingling sense of smoke, salt, and earth, an aroma that spoke of hard work, patience, and the deep connection between the Vikings and their environment. As the village grew still, the echoes of the day's labor lingered, woven into the fabric of daily life and the steady beat of survival. The Vikings' mastery of preservation was a testament to their resilience, a skillful dance with time, nature, and the ever-turning seasons. Each preserved morsel was a gift, a tangible link between past abundance and future sustenance, secured through generations of wisdom and care. The early morning mist clung to the edges of the village, as the first light crept slowly over the snow-dusted rooftops. The chill in the air was a reminder of the long day ahead, filled with tasks that would ensure the tribe's survival through the unforgiving winter. Inside the smokehouses, the thick, aromatic haze of pine and cured fish filled every corner. Skilled hands inspected the hanging strips of salted cod, feeling their firmness and noting any signs of premature spoilage. The rhythmic chopping of wood from nearby fires punctuated the quiet hum of preservation. Every ember was carefully tended, its warmth a crucial element in the slow curing process that stretched over weeks and months. The salted and smoked meats, cured to perfection, promised sustenance long after the land had frozen solid. These efforts were not rushed. Patience was the greatest virtue in the art of preservation. In the root cellars, cool and dark, barrels of fermented vegetables waited silently. The bubbling of sauerkraut and pickled turnips was a gentle reminder that life persisted beneath the frozen surface of the world. Women gathered to prepare new batches of vegetables for fermentation, slicing cabbage and mixing brine with practiced hands. Their movements were steady, reflecting the deep understanding passed down through generations. The scent of salty brine mingled with earthy vegetables, creating a rich aroma that spoke of hope and endurance. Outside, fishermen prepared their gear, knowing that the frozen seas would soon challenge their skills and courage. Nets were mended and sharpened tools readied for the demanding work beneath the ice. The Vikings' survival depended on this intricate dance, a blend of preparation, knowledge, and respect for the natural world. Every preserved morsel, every carefully tended ember, and every shared story were vital threads woven into the tribe's enduring fabric. The cold pressed relentlessly against the Viking village, but beneath layers of wool and fur, a different warmth took hold, one woven from skill, tradition, and intimate knowledge of the natural world. Vikings dressed in garments crafted from the softest wool, harvested from hardy sheep that braved the same harsh winters. The texture was thick and slightly coarse, yet comforting against skin, insulating against biting winds and frost. Spinning wheels and drop spindles moved steadily as women transformed raw wool into threads, their hands skilled in the ancient art of weaving and knitting. The gentle sound of fibers twisting created a soothing rhythm, echoing the steady heartbeat of the community. Fur gathered from foxes, reindeer, and bears added another vital layer of protection. Its dense, plush texture trapped heat close to the body, while the natural oils repelled snow and moisture. The scent of fresh fur was earthy and wild, a reminder of the bond between the Vikings and the creatures they lived alongside. Linen, woven from flax, provided a softer layer beneath wool and fur. Its smoothness was a gentle contrast, offering comfort and breathability beneath the heavier garments. Clothing was not simply functional, it was a source of emotional warmth, a shield that allowed the Vikings to face the relentless cold with confidence and resilience. The process of dressing was deliberate and methodical. Layers were added one by one, linen tunics first, followed by thick woolen shirts and trousers, and finally fur-lined cloaks and hoods that wrapped the body in a cocoon of heat. Each garment bore the marks of care and craftsmanship, embroidered hems, carefully stitched seams, and the subtle patterns that reflected tribal identity and personal pride. The tactile sensations of these materials were deeply familiar. The roughness of wool balanced by the softness of fur, the cool smoothness of linen beneath the layers. Vikings cherished their clothing not only for its protection, but for the comfort and security it offered in a world defined by extremes. The smell of lanolin-rich wool mixed with the faint musk of tanned hides and the crisp scent of fresh linen, creating an atmosphere both primal and nurturing. In the flickering firelight, clothing glowed with muted colors, natural browns, grays, and creams, dyed subtly with earth pigments like alder, bark and madder root. Knitted gloves and thick socks were essential, their tight weave trapping warmth while allowing dexterity for daily tasks. The texture of these accessories was dense and cozy, a constant comfort against the harsh cold. Leather boots, reinforced with fur lining and sturdy soles, were crafted to traverse icy terrain. The scent of oiled leather and the smooth touch of softened hide spoke to a long tradition of careful preparation and respect for materials. The emotional comfort of clothing extended beyond warmth. It was a tangible link to family and community. Garments often made by loved ones, imbued with care and protection. Wearing these layers was like being wrapped in the embrace of the tribe itself. A constant reminder that they faced winter not alone but together. The ritual of dressing each morning was a moment of readiness and resolve, a quiet affirmation of strength and endurance. Soft whispers of encouragement and laughter often accompanied the process, weaving bonds of connection and hope. Even on the coldest days, through snow and storm, wool and fur became a lifeline, shielding bodies and spirits alike from winter's relentless grasp. The feel of thick wool against skin was a constant comfort, its fibers prickly yet soothing, forming a protective barrier that held the body's heat close. Each thread carried the warmth of countless sheep that had grazed under open skies, their coats harvested with care and gratitude. Fur garments were prized possessions, their dense undercoats offering unrivaled insulation. The soft, luxurious touch of fox fur collars and bear pelts draped over shoulders provided not only warmth but a sense of dignity and strength. The scent of tanned hides was earthy and rich, mingling with the faint aroma of lanolin in wool, a fragrance that spoke of home, hearth, and survival. Vikings layered their clothing meticulously, understanding how air trapped between fabrics added an invisible layer of insulation. Cloaks fastened with ornate brooches kept the wind at bay, while thick leggings and mittens protected extremities from frostbite. The weight of garments was substantial but necessary, each layer a shield against the biting cold. Movement required deliberate effort, but this was embraced as part of the winter's rhythm, a dance of endurance and care. Patterns and textures varied. Some wool was tightly woven for durability, other pieces soft and fuzzy for warmth. The interplay of rough and smooth, heavy and light, created a tactile harmony that comforted the wearer. Women and men alike took pride in their clothing, often adding decorative embroidery and woven bands that reflected clan identity or personal stories. These embellishments brought color and meaning to otherwise muted winter wear. The process of crafting clothing was communal and ongoing. Women gathered around spinning wheels, sharing stories as they spun raw wool into thread. Men prepared hides, tanning and softening them with skill passed down through generations. Children learned early to appreciate the importance of clothing, watching, helping, and eventually mastering the techniques needed to protect themselves and their families. Beyond physical warmth, the layered garments symbolized a shield of protection, a comfort against the unknown, the harsh elements, and the isolation that winter could bring. In the deepest cold, these clothes became an extension of the self, wrapping the Vikings in a reassuring embrace that bolstered their spirits. The quiet moments of dressing and layering were rituals of hope and strength, anchoring the tribe in tradition and mutual care. As the firelight flickered, illuminating the soft folds of wool and the sheen of fur, the Vikings prepared themselves, not just for survival, but for the enduring journey of winter itself. The thick, woolen cloaks draped over sturdy shoulders bore the subtle scent of smoke and earth, mingling with the natural fragrance of lanolin and worn leather. These were garments lived in, imbued with the stories of countless winters endured and challenges overcome. Each stitch in the woven fabric spoke of generations of hands working with care and skill, creating clothing that was both functional and a testament to identity. Patterns and colors marked tribal affiliations and personal achievements, turning everyday wear into symbols of belonging and pride. Fur-lined hoods framed faces weathered by wind and cold, offering shelter from swirling snow and biting gusts. The soft, dense fur trapped warm air, creating a buffer between flesh and frost. Boots, crafted from thick hides and reinforced with sturdy soles, were worn tight and warm, their interiors cushioned with fur to protect against frozen ground. The sounds of footsteps crunching through snow and ice echoed the steady, purposeful movements of a people attuned to their environment. Gloves and mittens, knitted or sewn from layered materials, allowed fingers to remain nimble despite the cold, enabling daily tasks from fishing to tool-making. The delicate balance between protection and dexterity was essential for survival. Vikings adapted their clothing not only to endure the cold, but to live fully within it, hunting, trading, gathering, and celebrating amidst the frozen landscape. Tactile sensations of fabrics and furs were a constant presence, grounding the Vikings in a world that was both beautiful and unforgiving. Clothing was an intimate part of life, a second skin that held the memories of ancestors and the hopes for the future. The layering of wool, linen, and fur created a sensory landscape of warmth, texture, and scent that was both practical and deeply comforting. In this armor of natural materials, the Vikings faced winter with resilience, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge and care woven into every garment. The rhythm of dressing and preparing for the cold was a daily ritual, a moment of quiet strength and connection that prepared them to meet the challenges ahead. The scent of smoked wool mingled with the faint aroma of pine tar, used to waterproof leather boots, a subtle reminder of the Vikings' deep connection to the natural world. These materials weren't just chosen for warmth, they were carefully selected for durability and adaptability to the harsh, wet conditions of their homeland. Each garment told a story, from the tightly woven tunics dyed with earthy pigments, to the heavy cloaks lined with soft, insulating fur. The feel of these fabrics was varied, the roughness of coarse wool, the smooth coolness of linen beneath, and the dense softness of bear or reindeer pelts wrapped close to the skin. The Vikings understood the power of layering. Air trapped between layers created an invisible shield against the cold. They wrapped themselves in folds of fabric, adjusting and tightening each piece to create pockets of warmth that preserved life through frigid days and freezing nights. Hoods and scarves, often adorned with intricate embroidery or simple decorative stitches, protected faces from harsh winds and blowing snow. These accessories were both functional and expressions of identity, marking their wearers as members of a proud and resilient people. The process of crafting clothing was communal and continuous. Women spun wool by firelight, their fingers deft and practiced, while men prepared hides with care, softening them for use in boots, gloves, and belts. Children learned these crafts young, weaving themselves into the traditions that would sustain their families through winters yet to come. The emotional comfort of clothing was profound. Wrapped in layers, the Vikings felt shielded not only from the elements, but from the isolation winter sometimes brought. The fabric was a constant, reassuring presence, a tactile reminder of home, family, and survival. Even in the darkest, coldest moments, their clothing carried warmth, woven from nature's gifts and human ingenuity, and sewn with love and necessity. The heavy cloaks draped over shoulders were often fastened with ornate brooches carved from bone or polished metal, symbols of status and craftsmanship. The cool, smooth touch of these fastenings contrasted with the thick warmth of the fur and wool they held together. Beneath the outer layers, woolen tunics and trousers provided flexibility and comfort, their coarse fibers trapping heat while allowing movement. The rough texture was softened by layers of linen next to the skin, creating a balanced harmony between protection and comfort. The Vikings took pride in the care and repair of their clothing. Tears were mended with sinew thread, patches added to worn areas, and garments routinely cleaned and aired near the fire. This attention to detail extended the life of each piece, conserving precious resources during the long winter months. A scent of drying leather mingled with the subtle musk of worn wool, filling the air of the longhouses with a sense of home and resilience. Children often wore simpler versions of adult garments, made smaller but crafted with the same care and materials. Their small hands learned early to appreciate the importance of warmth and protection in a world dominated by cold. Each layer of clothing was a shield, a physical and emotional barrier against the harsh environment. To wear these garments was to carry the strength and wisdom of ancestors, a tangible connection to the Viking legacy. The process of dressing became a ritual, deliberate, mindful, and full of purpose. As each layer was added, the Viking prepared, not just the body, but the spirit, for the day ahead. The warmth held close was more than temperature. It was a source of comfort, identity, and survival, a lifeline against the relentless cold. The interplay of textures, scents, and colors created a sensory landscape that grounded the Vikings in their place and time, nurturing endurance and hope. The winter garments were more than mere protection. They were a form of storytelling, each piece reflecting the wearer's journey and heritage. Embroidered patterns told tales of valor and kinship, while the choice of furs and fabrics spoke of the wearer's place within the tribe. The hands that crafted these clothes were skilled artists, shaping not only fabric but identity and belonging. The repetitive motions of spinning, weaving, and sewing were meditative acts, binding the maker to the earth and their community. The texture of each material held meaning, the dense warmth of reindeer fur symbolizing strength, the delicate weave of linen representing purity, and the sturdy wool embodying resilience. As the cold deepened outside, the Vikings wrapped themselves in these layers with gratitude and reverence, each fold a shield against winter's bite. The comfort they found was both physical and emotional, a reminder that they were part of something greater, a lineage woven through time and hardship. In the quiet moments before dawn, the smell of worn wool and tanned leather filled the air, mingling with the faint scent of pine smoke from the hearth. These familiar scents created a sanctuary of warmth and memory, a refuge from the icy world beyond the walls. The Vikings faced winter with a courage born not only of preparation but of deep connection to their land, their people, and the enduring spirit that clothing so intimately embodied. Soft whispers of the spinning wheel accompanied the quiet crackle of the fire as women gathered to weave new fabrics. Their hands moved deftly, turning raw wool into warm threads that would soon become the next layer of protection against the biting cold. Each thread carried the essence of the sheep's resilience, a natural armor woven with care and tradition. The process was slow, but every strand was a vital contribution to the tribe's survival. Men prepared hides with skill and patience, soaking and softening them to create supple leather boots and gloves. The faint, earthy scent of tanning mingled with the warmth of the hearth, a reminder of nature's gifts transformed through human hands. The crafting of clothing was a communal act, a shared responsibility that bound the Vikings together. Knowledge passed from elder to child, weaving a tapestry of skills and stories that ensured survival through generations. Children observed eagerly, their fingers learning the delicate motions of sewing and spinning, their spirits absorbing the lessons of care and endurance. Clothing was more than necessity. It was a symbol of community and continuity, a tangible connection between past, present, and future. As layers were added and fastened, the Vikings felt wrapped, not just in warmth, but in the embrace of tradition and shared strength. The cold winds outside could not penetrate the fortress of wool and fur, nor the resilient hearts beneath dot in these garments. Vikings found a quiet confidence, a readiness to meet the challenges of winter with steadfast resolve. The slow rhythm of preparing and donning these garments became a ritual, each movement deliberate, each layer a step closer to readiness. The fabric's weight was a comforting reminder of the care woven into every thread, and fur-lining dots soft leather belts cinched tunics and cloaks, their smooth surfaces worn by years of use and mending. The tactile feel of these belts, cool and sturdy, grounded the Vikings in their daily lives, offering both utility and subtle adornment. Hoods lined with soft fur-framed faces, shielding them from piercing winds and swirling snow. The delicate interplay between protection and visibility was carefully balanced, allowing for both safety and connection with the outside world. The Vikings' understanding of their clothing was holistic, recognizing not just the physical barrier it provided, but its role in maintaining morale and identity during the long dark months. Woolen socks, thick and layered, wrapped around feet hardened by travel over ice and snow. Their knitted patterns varied, some simple and functional, others intricately designed, small expressions of individuality and pride. Gloves and mittens, often reinforced with additional leather patches, allowed fingers to remain nimble for the work of the day, tying knots, handling tools, and preparing food. The tactile sensations of warmth and texture were constant companions, a sensory shield against the relentless cold. Vikings took pride in their clothing, tending and repairing garments with care. Holes were patched, hems re-stitched, and fabrics aired near fires to maintain their protective qualities. This continuous cycle of care extended the life of each piece, conserving resources and reinforcing a deep respect for the materials that sustained them. In the embrace of wool and fur, the Vikings found not only survival, but a profound comfort, a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, warmth and care endured. The Viking longhouse stood as a sturdy bastion against the unforgiving winter winds, its broad wooden beams thick and resilient, crafted with the care and skill of generations. Each timber was carefully selected, hewn from the surrounding forests, its rough grain still bearing the scent of pine and earth. The walls were constructed with interlocking planks, reinforced by stone foundations that rose from the frozen ground, anchoring the home firmly against storms and shifting frost. Between the wooden beams, moss and animal hides were packed tightly, serving as natural insulation to keep the bitter cold at bay. Inside, the air was thick with the comforting aroma of burning peat and wood smoke, mingling with the faint, musky scent of tanned hides that covered the floors and walls. This scent was a constant reminder of the close relationship between the Vikings and their environment, a world where every element had a purpose and place. Flickering firelight danced across the interior, casting warm golden hues on the rough-hewn beams and the woven textures of woolen blankets and furs that adorned sleeping areas. The fire's crackle was a steady heartbeat, a life-giving force that transformed the cold, dark space into a haven of warmth and safety. The longhouse was spacious, yet intimate, designed to shelter extended families through the long winters. Low wooden benches lined the walls, their surfaces worn smooth by years of use, while woven baskets held food and tools within easy reach. The floor beneath was layered with animal pelts and soft straw, cushioning footsteps and adding insulation. Against the cold stone below, each texture spoke of survival and comfort, a blend of practicality and care. Windows were small and covered with animal skins or shutters, minimizing drafts while allowing just enough light to filter through the dim winter days. This muted illumination added to the sense of calm and enclosure, creating a world apart from the frozen landscape beyond. Central to the home was the hearth, a carefully constructed fire pit surrounded by stones that absorbed and radiated heat long after the flames had died. This hearth was the heart of the household, where food was prepared, stories told, and warmth shared. The smoke from the fire wove slowly upward through a vent in the roof. It sent a soothing balm that filled every corner, though the air could grow thick and smoky. The Vikings tolerated this for the comfort and sustenance the fire provided. Within these walls, the world's harshness was held at bay, a refuge where bodies could recover from the cold and spirits could find renewal. The emotional comfort of home was palpable. It was a place of safety, connection, and tradition, a sanctuary where the rhythms of family life continued despite winter's grip. The flickering flames reflected in the eyes of children nestled close to their mothers, their small faces illuminated with warmth and trust. Elders rested on woven mats, their breathing slow and steady in the quiet warmth, surrounded by the sounds of hushed voices and the occasional soft laughter. The longhouse was alive with the pulse of life, a shared space where generations coexisted and supported one another. Outside, the frozen landscape stretched endlessly, stark and beautiful, but within the sturdy walls, a softer, enduring world thrived. The Vikings' connection to hearth and home was profound. These shelters were not merely physical structures, but embodiments of resilience and hope. Every beam, every stone, and every layer of moss or hide was a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring desire for warmth and belonging. The longhouse walls absorbed the steady heat radiating from the hearth, slowly releasing it to banish the creeping chill of the frozen world outside. The thick timber beams held the echoes of countless seasons, their sturdy presence offering a reassuring embrace against winter's harshness. Soft shadows flickered and danced, painting ever-shifting patterns on rough wooden surfaces, and the textured animal hides that lined the benches and resting areas These furs, sourced from hunts and tanned with care, provided not only warmth but also a tactile comfort. Their softness, a balm against the cold that seeped through stone and wood. The scent of burning peat mingled with the musky aroma of cured hides and smoked meats, creating an atmosphere that was both primal and soothing. The fire's crackle and the occasional pop of burning wood filled the longhouse with a rhythm that matched the steady heartbeat of its inhabitants. Smoke curled lazily toward the roof vent, a constant companion to life within the home. It could sting the eyes and throat. It was a small price to pay for the warmth and light that allowed families to gather and thrive during the darkest months. Long benches and woven mats provided places for sitting, working, and resting. Families gathered close, sharing food and stories, their voices low and steady, blending with the flickering light and the comforting sounds of the hearth. The longhouse was more than shelter. It was a center of community and tradition, a place where knowledge was passed down through storytelling, craft, and shared experience. The weight of winter, outside, was held at bay here, replaced by a sense of belonging and security, nurtured by the warmth of both fire and kinship. The wooden walls were etched with marks and symbols, reminders of past generations who had shaped this home and the lives within it. These carvings told stories of ancestors, victories, and the enduring spirit of the Viking people. In corners, small household items, carved wooden spoons, woven baskets, and simple tools lay ready for daily tasks, their worn surfaces evidence of constant use and care. The soft crackling firelight illuminated the faces of children as they listened intently to tales of adventure and bravery, their imaginations ignited by the spoken word. Elders sat quietly nearby, their eyes reflecting the fire's glow and the wisdom of many winters endured. The longhouse was a sanctuary, a sacred space where the cycles of nature and human life intertwined. In a delicate dance of survival and hope, the Vikings' mastery of their environment extended beyond the physical. It was also a mastery of space and spirit, transforming simple materials into a refuge that nourished body and soul alike. The thick wooden beams overhead bore the weight of many winters, their sturdy grain etched with the passage of time and the hands of those who had built and rebuilt the longhouse. The roof, layered with turf and thatch, held tight against snow and wind, sealing the warmth within like a protective shell. Animal hides stretched across doorways and windows acted as curtains, blocking drafts while muffling the sounds of the freezing world outside. The rough texture of these hides was familiar to all, a tactile comfort in the midst of cold and darkness. The floor was covered in woven mats and layered pelts, soft underfoot and insulating against the chill that crept upward from the earth. The scent of dried moss and straw mingled with the smoke and warmth, creating an earthy, homely aroma that spoke of survival and care. Near the hearth, pots and cauldrons simmered gently, their contents thick with root vegetables, salted meats, and wild herbs gathered from summer and fall. The rich aroma of stew filled the air, promising sustenance and comfort against the harshness beyond the walls. Within the longhouse, the steady murmur of voices created a tapestry of sound, quiet conversations, laughter, and the soft creak of wooden furniture. These sounds were a shield against the isolation of winter, weaving connection and life through the space. The hearth itself was carefully constructed, with stones arranged to contain the fire and radiate heat evenly. Ash and embers were tended meticulously, a skill passed down through generations, ensuring that warmth would last through the longest nights. The Vikings gathered closely around the fire, their bodies leaning into the heat, finding solace in its glow and the company it brought. The firelight illuminated faces lined with determination and care, reflecting a community bound tightly by shared hardship and hope. Windows, small and covered with animal skins, allowed faint glimpses of the snowy landscape, reminding those inside of the wild world just beyond their refuge. Yet within these walls, the cold was held at bay, replaced by the enduring warmth of home and heart. The longhouse was a place of safety, tradition, and resilience, where the Vikings wove stories and dreams as surely as they built walls and fires. Each day, as winter pressed on, this hearth and home stood strong, a testament to human ingenuity and the deep desire for warmth and belonging. The wooden beams absorbed the fire's glow, radiating a gentle warmth that softened the chill creeping into every corner. Thick animal pelts, draped over benches and resting places, invited weary bodies to sink into their softness after a day spent braving the frost. And snow. The tactile comfort of these furs was a constant reassurance, a reminder that even in the harshest of winters, there was a place of peace and renewal. The Vikings took great care in maintaining these pelts, brushing and airing them regularly to preserve their insulating power. The low hum of quiet conversation blended with the rhythmic crackle of the hearth, filling the longhouse with a sense of calm continuity. Here, stories were told, songs were sung, and knowledge was shared, all under the watchful glow of the fire that brought them together. The smell of burning peat and smoked meats lingered in the air, weaving an aromatic thread through the warmth and light. These scents were inseparable from the feeling of home, a blend of survival and comfort crafted through generations. Children nestled close to their parents, their small hands clutching warm furs, eyes heavy with the soothing promise of rest. Elders sat nearby, their faces etched with the marks of many winters endured, their eyes shining with wisdom and quiet strength. The longhouse was alive with the pulse of community, a sanctuary where the outside world's harshness faded beneath layers of warmth, care, and connection. Each detail, from the sturdy wooden walls to the carefully tended hearth, spoke of a people who had mastered the art of turning cold into comfort, isolation into belonging. The Vikings' homes were more than structures. They were living embodiments of resilience and hope. Places where life flourished, despite winter's grasp. At the longhouse was a place where generations gathered, where the crackling firelight illuminated faces young and old, united in the shared experience of enduring winter together. The thick wooden walls held the echoes of countless stories, whispered prayers, and hearty laughter, a rich tapestry of life woven through the darkest months. The sturdy construction of the home, built from timber felled by skilled hands and stone gathered from the rugged earth, was designed not only for shelter but for warmth and protection. Roofs layered with turf and thatch provided insulation, their weight pressing down against the biting wind, keeping the interior snug and quiet. The Vikings understood the power of their homes as places of refuge, spaces where the cold could not penetrate, where spirits could rest and rejuvenate. Animal hides hung along walls and over furniture. Their textures varied from the coarse, thick pelts of bears to the soft, supple fur of foxes and otters. These natural coverings absorbed heat, muffled sounds, and offered comfort in a world otherwise shaped by ice and stone. The fire was tended constantly, its embers coaxed back to life throughout the long nights. The warmth it gave was more than physical, it was a source of hope and connection, a beacon that united the tribe. Every ember and spark carried stories of survival, courage, and the enduring human spirit. Through the longest winters, the Vikings' hearth and home stood as testaments to their ingenuity, a crafted sanctuary where warmth and life could flourish amid the frost. The longhouse breathed with life, the gentle hum of conversation, the soft rustle of woven cloth, and the steady crackle of the hearth, blending into a comforting symphony. The scent of dried herbs hung faintly in the air, mingling with the smoky aroma of burning peat, filling the space with a sense of calm and well-being. Warmth radiated not only from the fire, but from the shared presence of family and community, their bonds a vital source of strength through the harsh winter months. Blankets and furs, layered upon benches, offered soft places to rest, their textures inviting tired bodies to relax and find respite from the cold. The wooden walls held the memories of countless winters, each knot and grain a silent witness to resilience and adaptation. The Vikings' connection to their homes was deeply rooted. These spaces were sanctuaries where life's challenges were met with care, tradition, and unwavering hope. In the quiet glow of firelight, stories of ancestors and gods were told, weaving the past into the present and inspiring courage for the days to come. As night deepened, the longhouse became a haven of warmth, light, and community, a place where the relentless winter found no hold. Here, surrounded by the textures and sense of home, the Vikings found not only shelter, but a profound sense of belonging and peace. The day's labors ended as flickering flames softened to glowing embers, casting a warm, steady light across the longhouse. Wooden beams and the worn pelts lining the floor. The fire's gentle crackle was a comforting constant, a heartbeat in the quiet night that wrapped the home in its protective glow. Vikings gathered close, sharing quiet moments of reflection and anticipation for the days ahead. Their faces softened by the firelight's embrace. The walls, thick with layers of wood and moss, held the warmth carefully, releasing it slowly to chase away the chill that lingered beyond the hearth. Every corner of the home was touched by this careful balance of natural elements and human ingenuity, creating a refuge that was both physical and spiritual. The smell of burning peat mixed with the faint aroma of smoked fish and tanned leather, a sensory tapestry that spoke of survival, tradition, and belonging. The steady rhythm of hearth and home echoed the timeless cycles of nature, anchoring the Vikings in a world where endurance was woven into every breath and every stone. Here, beneath the sturdy roof and among loved ones, the harshness of winter softened into a quiet strength, a testament to the power of shelter, warmth, and community. The longhouse glowed softly under the flickering light of the central hearth, its warm glow spreading through the timber-bird walls and wrapping the gathered Vikings in a comforting embrace. Outside, winter's chill pressed hard against the sturdy walls, but within, a rich tapestry of voices, music, and laughter wove through the air, binding the tribe together through the long nights. Families, huddled close on thick furs and woven mats, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames, eyes reflecting both the firelight and the deep connections that united them. The scent of smoked meats and freshly baked bread mingled with the faint aroma of burning peat, filling the space with a sense of home and belonging. The evening's gathering was a cherished ritual, a time to share stories of ancestors, battles fought, and journeys taken across seas and frozen lands. Elders' voices rose and fell in measured cadence, weaving tales that carried lessons and wisdom, binding past and present in a seamless thread. Children listened intently, their imaginations ignited by vivid descriptions of gods, heroes, and the mysteries of the natural world. Songs rose softly in the background, the melodic hum of voices blending with the rhythmic beating of drums and the gentle strumming of stringed instruments crafted by skilled hands. Craftspeople moved quietly among the group, their fingers deftly weaving baskets, carving wood, or sewing garments. The soft sounds of their work created a soothing backdrop, a testament to the tribe's creativity and resilience. Meals were shared communally, bowls passed around with thick stews made from preserved meats and root vegetables. The warmth of the food was matched by the warmth of friendship and shared purpose. Laughter rang out at moments, a bright spark against the muted tones of winter, reminding all of the joy found even in the coldest times. The longhouse was alive, with the pulse of community, a sanctuary where survival was nurtured not only by food and fire, but by connection, tradition, and shared stories. The social bonds forged in these gatherings were as vital as any weapon, a source of strength that carried the Vikings through the darkest months. Through storytelling, song, and craft, the tribe reinforced its identity and resilience, weaving cultural threads that would endure beyond the winter's end. The rhythms of these gatherings created a steady heartbeat beneath the winter's stillness, a reminder that even in cold and shadow, life flourished. The firelight flickered gently, casting warm glows on the faces gathered close around the hearth. The crackle of burning wood provided a steady rhythm as stories unfolded, tales of distant voyages across icy seas, of fierce battles waged under northern skies, and of gods who walked among mortals in times long past. Elders spoke with measured voices, their words carrying the weight of experience and reverence. They recounted the wisdom of ancestors, lessons learned through struggle and triumph, shared to guide the younger generations. Children sat wide-eyed, hanging on every word as they imagined great ships cutting through stormy waters and warriors, clad in furs, braving the cold. These stories were more than entertainment. They were the fabric of cultural identity, weaving history and hope into the hearts of listeners. In the background, the soft strumming of a lyre mingled with gentle humming, creating an atmosphere both soothing and inspiring. Singing was a cherished tradition, a means of preserving memory and expressing joy even amid hardship. The songs ranged from ancient hymns, honoring the gods, to lively ballads, celebrating love, kinship, and the changing seasons. Voices rose and fell in harmonious patterns, a communal offering that strengthened bonds and lifted spirits. Nearby, skilled hands moved deftly through weaving and carving, their quiet work a vital part of the evening's ritual. Wool was spun into thread, wood shaped into tools and ornaments, and hides stitched into warm garments. The tactile sounds of craft, the scrape of knife on wood, the soft pull of thread through fabric, blended with the stories and songs, creating a rich sensory tapestry. Shared meals punctuated the gathering, with bowls of steaming stew passed from hand to hand. The hearty flavors, preserved through months of preparation, nourished both body and soul. The act of sharing food was sacred, a symbol of trust, community, and the shared commitment to endure winter's trials together. The longhouse, though simple in construction, was transformed by these gatherings into a vibrant heart of Viking life, a place where culture, connection, and care intertwined. The emotional warmth kindled by firelight and fellowship was a powerful shield against the biting cold outside, fostering resilience and hope within the tribe. Together, through stories, songs, crafts, and shared meals, the Vikings wove a web of belonging that sustained them through the longest, coldest nights. The laughter of children echoed softly as elders encouraged them to join in the singing and storytelling, passing down traditions through playful songs and vivid tales. Their bright eyes reflected the firelight, glowing with curiosity and the warmth of belonging. Crafting circles formed where young and old worked side by side, weaving baskets from pliant twigs or carving intricate designs into wooden amulets. The gentle scratch of tools on wood was rhythmic and steady, a soothing counterpoint to the flickering flames. Each craft held meaning beyond utility: baskets for gathering, amulets for protection, and carved figures representing gods or ancestors. These creations embodied the tribe's connection to nature and the divine, reminding all of their place within a larger story. As the night deepened, stories shifted to quieter tones, tales of courage, loss, and the enduring spirit of the Viking people. The flickering firelight lent a sacred atmosphere to these moments, drawing listeners into a shared space of reflection and hope. The communal bonds forged in these gatherings transcended the physical warmth of the longhouse. They nurtured emotional resilience, a collective strength that enabled the Vikings to face the relentless winter with unwavering resolve. Songs and stories became a lifeline, a thread connecting past to present and weaving together the fabric of identity and belonging. The rhythm of communal life, shared work, shared meals, shared stories, created a steady pulse that echoed through the cold and dark, sustaining the tribe as surely as food and shelter. In this sacred space, the Vikings celebrated not only survival, but the richness of their culture, the power of connection, and the enduring hope that carried them through winter's harsh embrace. The longhouse walls absorbed the gentle murmurs and laughter, becoming a silent witness to generations of shared joys and sorrows. Each gathering was a thread in the intricate tapestry of Viking life, weaving resilience, identity, and belonging through the darkest months. The soft glow of the hearth illuminated faces lined with experience and hope, while the warmth fostered a sense of safety and comfort that transcended the physical dot in these moments. Vikings found not only reprieve from the cold, but a profound connection to their ancestors and to one another. The stories told were living memories, carried forward in voices raised around the fire. The traditions of song, craft, and communal meal reinforced the tribe's strength, reminding all that they were part of something greater, a legacy of endurance and unity. As the firelight flickered and shadows danced, the Vikings leaned into the warmth of community, finding in each other the courage to face the long winter ahead. The bonds forged in frost were unbreakable, woven tightly through shared hardship, care, and celebration. Within the walls of the longhouse, winter's chill was held at bay by the enduring power of connection and tradition. Here, in the heart of their home, the Vikings carried the flame of hope and resilience, ready to meet whatever challenges lay beyond the frozen horizon. The soft crackling of the fire was a comforting constant, its glow casting gentle warmth over the gathering. Stories flowed like the flickering flames, sometimes bold and fierce, recounting heroic deeds and daring voyages. At other times tender and reflective, sharing lessons learned and hopes held dear. Songs rose and fell, weaving through the air with melodies that echoed ancient rhythms. The voices of young and old blended seamlessly, creating a harmonious chorus that filled the longhouse with life and spirit. Hands busied themselves with crafts, spinning wool, carving bone, and stitching leather with the rhythmic motions grounding the community in purpose and tradition. Each crafted object carried meaning, a link between generations and a symbol of the tribe's enduring strength. Shared meals brought nourishment beyond food, feeding bonds of trust and belonging. The taste of salted fish, hearty stews, and fresh bread was savored in the glow of companionship, each bite a celebration of survival and togetherness. The longhouse was a sanctuary from the bitter cold outside, a place where the Vikings could gather not only to shelter their bodies, but to warm their spirits. In these moments, the fierce winter winds were held at bay by the softer forces of love, tradition, and community. The resilience of the Vikings was not forged by strength alone, but by the connections that sustained them. Stories told, songs sung, hands working together, and hearts united in the face of hardship. The laughter of children filled the air, weaving lightness into the heavy weight of winter. Their playful voices echoed through the longhouse, a reminder of life's persistence even in the coldest months. Elders smiled softly, their eyes reflecting the firelight and the pride of watching new generations learn the ways of the tribe. These moments of joy and teaching were as vital as any preparation for the coming storms. The weaving of stories and songs created a living heritage, each tale a thread connecting past, present, and future. These narratives held the wisdom of ancestors, guiding the Vikings through the challenges of winter and beyond. In quiet corners, hand-shaped tools and ornaments, the intricate work a meditation and a means of preserving culture. The tactile connection to their craft grounded the Vikings, reinforcing their identity and resilience. Shared meals were simple but hearty, bowls of thick stew, slices of salted fish, and dense bread. The act of breaking bread together nurtured bonds, reminding all that survival was a communal endeavor. The longhouse, with its warmth and light, stood as a beacon of hope and strength amid the vast frozen landscape. Here, surrounded by kin and tradition, the Vikings faced winter with courage and unity, their spirits intertwined with the flickering flames and the stories that carried them forward. The steady glow of the fire cast flickering shadows on the faces gathered close, illuminating eyes bright with shared purpose and quiet determination. The longhouse was more than shelter. It was a cradle of culture and resilience, where the threads of history, memory, and hope were woven tightly through the fabric of daily life. Songs of the gods, heroic sagas, and simple folk tunes rose and fell in the smoky air, each melody a vital thread in the tapestry of Viking identity. Hands continued their work, weaving, carving, mending, a quiet testament to the tribe's enduring spirit and adaptability. Meals passed from hand to hand, nourishing bodies weary from the cold, but also nourishing the bonds that sustained the community. In the warmth of the longhouse, the harshness of winter softened, replaced by the glow of connection and tradition. The Vikings knew that their strength lay not only in their skill and preparation but in their unity, the shared stories, songs, and labors that carried them through the longest nights. Together, they created a refuge of warmth and belonging, a sanctuary where life thrived despite the cold and darkness beyond the walls. The longhouse hummed with quiet energy as the night deepened, the fire's warmth weaving through the gathering like an invisible thread. Voices softened into murmurs, stories slowing to gentle reflections that invited calm and connection. The flickering light revealed the intricate patterns on woven tapestries and the careful handiwork of carved wooden figures of a culture rich in symbolism and meaning. Children's eyelids grew heavy, soothed by the steady rhythm of voices and the comforting presence of family. The air was thick with the scent of pine smoke, dried herbs, and the faint sweetness of mead, shared in small cups. These communal moments nurtured not just the body but the spirit, creating a shared resilience that would carry the Vikings through the coldest days. As embers glowed softly, the longhouse became a sanctuary of peace, a place where the power of community and tradition wrapped around each soul like a warm cloak. The frozen landscape stretched endlessly beneath a pale winter sky, its white expanse broken only by the dark silhouettes of skeletal trees and the jagged edges of ice-covered fjords. Each breath taken by the Viking hunter hung in the air as a misty cloud, mingling with the crisp cold that bit sharply at exposed skin. The crunch of boots on compacted snow echoed softly, a rhythmic accompaniment to the careful steps taken across the frozen terrain. Hunting was a delicate balance of patience and skill, requiring keen eyes to spot subtle signs, the faint tracks of deer, the barely perceptible rustle of branches, the distant call of a lone bird. Every sound and movement carried meaning in this quiet, frozen world. The smell of damp earth and pine needles was faint beneath the sharper scent of frost, mingling with the musk of animal fur and the distant tang of smoke from village fires. Ice fishing demanded steady hands and a calm mind. Holes were carefully cut through thick layers of ice, their edges rough and glistening with frozen crystals. The water beneath was dark and still, a mysterious abyss that required respect and patience. Fishing lines were lowered with care, tipped with bait crafted from cured meats or small fish. The waiting was long and quiet, broken only by the soft crackle of ice shifting and the occasional splash beneath the surface. Successful catches brought a rush of relief and purpose. The fresh fish, a prized addition to the preserved stores that sustained the village. Hunting large game was a communal effort, involving careful planning and coordination. The Vikings tracked reindeer and elk across frozen plains and dense forests, their movements deliberate and coordinated. The crack of a bowstring, the thud of a spear striking, and the rush of animals fleeing blended into the sounds of the wild, raw and alive amid the icy stillness. After the hunt, care and respect were shown to the fallen creatures. Meat was butchered with practiced efficiency, hides prepared for tanning, and bones fashioned into tools and ornaments. The scent of cooked game roasting over an open fire filled the air, rich and savory, mingling with the ever-present aroma of wood smoke. Animal care was vital during winter, as herds were sheltered and tended with diligence. The soft lowing of cattle and the occasional bleat of goats echoed near the village, their breath visible in the cold air. Vikings ensured animals were fed with preserved fodder and protected from the harshest weather, understanding that their survival was intertwined with that of their herds. Tools were routinely repaired and maintained, their wooden handles oiled and their metal parts sharpened. The rhythmic scrape of whetstones against blades and the soft thud of hammer on wood punctuated the work. This continuous care reflected the Vikings' respect for their tools as extensions of themselves, essential for survival and daily life. The mental focus required to carry on through winter's challenges was immense. Each task demanded patience, skill, and endurance, qualities nurtured from youth and vital to the tribe's resilience. Despite the cold and isolation, the Vikings moved through their daily routines with steady purpose, their spirits anchored by knowledge, tradition, and community. The frozen ground cracked softly beneath the steady tread of hunters as they navigated snow-laden forests and icy plains. Their breath, visible in the frigid air, rose in rhythmic clouds, mingling with the scent of pine and frozen earth. Tracking animals in winter was a test of patience and keen observation. Footprints pressed lightly into the snow, broken branches and scattered fur told silent stories of nearby game. Every detail mattered. The faintest snap of a twig or the shadow of movement could mean the difference between success and failure. The sharp edge of a hunting knife glinted faintly as it was sharpened against a whetstone. The sound crisp in the stillness. Spears were checked and readied, their wooden shafts smooth and cool to the touch, tipped with carefully forged iron points designed to pierce thick hides. Ice fishing was practiced with practiced calm. Holes were cut through thick ice sheets, their edges sparkling like glass in the pale sunlight. Lines were lowered slowly, baited with small preserved fish, and held steady as the waiting game began. The water beneath was a dark, silent world, mysterious and full of promise. Patience was key, the waiting broken only by the occasional ripple or tug signaling a catch. The Vikings' endurance was both physical and mental. Days were long, cold, and demanding, requiring focus and determination to sustain both body and spirit. Care of animals was an ongoing priority. Herds were guided to sheltered areas where snow was less deep, fed from stored fodder, and watched closely for signs of distress. The soft sounds of animals moving and breathing provided a comforting backdrop to the harsh winter landscape. Tools, the lifeblood of survival, were meticulously maintained. Wooden handles were smoothed and oiled to prevent cracking. Metal blades, sharpened to a fine edge, and leather bindings checked for wear. The sounds of work, scraping, hammering, stitching, were woven into the rhythm of the day, a constant reminder of the tribe's interdependence and skill. Despite the challenges, the Vikings found strength in routine and purpose. The cold was formidable, but their will was stronger. Each successful hunt, each preserved catch, each repaired tool was a victory. Small but vital steps in the ongoing journey through winter's grasp. The sun dipped low behind snow hills, casting long shadows that stretched across the frozen landscape. The air grew colder, sharpening the senses and quickening the breath of those still working to secure their livelihood. Men and women moved with purpose, tending to traps set for rabbits and foxes, small game that provided vital sustenance. When larger prey was scarce, the soft crunch of footsteps on fresh snow and the faint snap of twigs beneath boots created a rhythm that matched the pulse of the frozen world. Fishers prepared their gear for the night's work, laying out nets and sharpening hooks, their hands steady despite the chill. The cold water was a silent adversary, demanding respect and resilience from those who ventured onto the ice. The smell of cooked game and burning wood mingled in the village air as fires burned bright, their glow a beacon of warmth and life. Steam rose from clay pots filled with hearty stews, its rich aroma a comfort against the biting cold. Children huddled near the hearth, their faces flushed from the cold, eyes bright with curiosity and the comfort of home. Stories and songs filled the longhouse, their melodies a balm against the winter darkness. The cycle of work and rest, effort and reflection, was a delicate balance, one mastered through generations of experience and shared wisdom. Through it all, the Vikings demonstrated remarkable endurance, their spirits fortified by skill, community, and an unyielding connection to the land. The frozen world tested them, but it also shaped them, forging a people resilient, resourceful, and deeply attuned to the rhythms of nature. The crisp air was filled with the faint, steady sounds of daily labor, the scrape of sharpened blades against wood, the soft thud of leather boots on hardened snow, and the rhythmic thump of hammers mending tools and repairing wooden sleds. Vikings moved with purposeful intent, their breath forming clouds that drifted into the cold sky, each task performed with practiced skill. Maintaining tools was vital. A dull blade or broken sled could mean the difference between survival and hardship. Ice fishing continued into the fading daylight, with patient anglers casting lines into holes cut through thick ice. The glint of their iron hooks and the gentle tug of a catch brought moments of quiet triumph amid the stark winter landscape. The frozen sea was both a source of sustenance and a challenging adversary, demanding respect and resilience from those who dared to venture upon it. In the animal pens, livestock huddled close, their breath mingling with the cold air, as caretakers ensured they were fed and sheltered. The rhythmic clatter of hooves and the soft murmurs of animals brought life to the stillness. Daily chores continued despite the biting cold, each act a vital thread in the fabric of survival, woven tightly by the community's collective effort. Even as winter tightened its grip, the Vikings pressed on with steady resolve, their spirits fueled by knowledge, tradition, and the shared strength of kinship. Through snow and frost, wind and darkness, they endured, a testament to human tenacity amid nature's most relentless challenges. As twilight faded into the long Arctic night, the Vikings returned from the frozen wilds, their sledges heavy with the day's catch and the spoils of tireless pursuit. The crunch of snow beneath weary boots was softened by the comforting glow of torchlight, guiding them back to the sanctuary of the village. Inside the longhouses, the aroma of smoked fish and freshly baked flatbread greeted them, mingling with the warmth of roaring hearths tended carefully through the evening. Families gathered to share the fruits of the hunt and fishing, breaking bread together in quiet celebration of endurance and survival. The taste of preserved meats, rich and smoky, was savored in slow bites, each morsel a tangible reward for days of labor and patience. Elders spoke softly of the land's gifts and challenges, imparting wisdom on reading signs in the snow, understanding animal behavior, and respecting the rhythms of nature. The cycle of work and rest, struggle and reprieve, continued with a steady cadence, each day a page in the unfolding saga of the Viking people. Despite the harshness of their environment, the Vikings' connection to the land and each other was a source of strength and hope. This bond, forged through shared hardship and celebration, was the true foundation of their resilience. The steady pulse of life within the longhouse echoed beyond its sturdy walls, a beacon of warmth against the frigid silence outside. As night deepened, the flicker of firelight cast dancing shadows on faces, drawn together by trust and shared purpose. The Viking stories continued to weave their timeless magic, binding past and present with threads of courage and hope. The village's resilience was reflected not only in survival but in the rich tapestry of culture, songs, crafts, and rituals that nourished the soul. In this world carved from ice and snow, the Vikings endured, not merely by braving the elements, but by embracing the power of community and tradition. Each day's labor was a testament to their indomitable spirit, a celebration of life woven through winter's harsh embrace. Together, they faced the frozen landscape with strength rooted in knowledge, skill, and unbreakable bonds. The spirit of the Vikings was alive in every step taken through snow, every tool carefully tended, and every shared meal around the fire. The long, dark nights of winter held a sacred space for the Vikings, a time when the world seemed to pause beneath the quiet shroud of snow and ice. Dot within their longhouses and sacred groves, the people prepared for the ancient ceremonies that would light the cold season with hope and reverence. The Yule festival was the heart of these winter rituals, a celebration of light returning, of life enduring despite the darkness that pressed close. Candles flickered softly in windows and around hearths, their gentle glow casting warm shadows on wooden beams and stone altars. The air was thick with the soothing scent of burning incense, aromatic herbs like juniper, pine, and sweetgrass mingling with the smoky fragrance of crackling wood. Soft chanting rose from gathered voices, a low rhythmic hum that wove through the space like a gentle breeze. These sacred songs called upon the gods, Odin, Thor, Freya, asking for protection, strength, and abundance in the months ahead. Offerings were laid carefully on stone slabs and woven mats, carved wooden figures, small bowls filled with mead and grains, bundles of herbs gathered in the autumn. Each gift was a symbol of gratitude and a plea for favor, a tangible connection between the mortal and the divine. The flickering flames of Yule logs blazed in the hearth, their warmth a physical and spiritual beacon. As the fire crackled, stories of gods and heroes were recounted, their deeds inspiring courage and hope. The festival was both solemn and joyful, a balance of reflection and celebration that strengthened the tribe's bonds. Children watched wide-eyed as elders performed rituals, lighting candles, chanting blessings, and weaving garlands of evergreens and berries. The fresh scent of pine branches and holly mingled with the deeper, earthier aromas of moss and bark, filling the longhouse with the essence of the living forest. Songs and prayers carried through the night, echoing against wooden walls and frost-covered windows, carrying the Vikings' hopes skyward. These spiritual practices were a source of comfort and connection, a reminder that even in the darkest season, light and life persisted. The Yule celebrations forged a circle of warmth and faith, binding the community together against winter's chill. Within this sacred space, the Vikings found strength not only in their hands and hearts, but in their spirits, resilient, hopeful, and enduring. The steady glow of candlelight flickered gently, casting soft, dancing shadows upon the faces gathered in solemn reverence. The longhouse was transformed into a sacred sanctuary, filled with the quiet hum of devotion and the warmth of shared belief. Around the hearth, elders led the tribe in ancient hymns, their voices low and rhythmic, weaving tales of gods who watched over the land and its people through the long winter nights. The scent of incense, a blend of juniper, pine needles, and sweet herbs, curled upward in delicate tendrils, filling the air with a calming fragrance that soothed both body and spirit. Offerings placed carefully on stone altars included bowls of honey, fresh bread, and small tokens carved from bone and wood, symbols of gratitude and a request for blessings in the cold months ahead. The Yule log, a massive piece of sacred timber, burned brightly in the hearth, its flames crackling and sending sparks that rose like tiny stars into the shadowed rafters. This fire was both a beacon and a barrier, lighting the darkness and warding off evil spirits believed to roam the frozen wilds. Children listened wide-eyed as elders recounted stories of gods and heroes, their words painting vivid pictures of courage, sacrifice, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. The festival was marked by a delicate balance of solemn rituals and joyful celebration, a time to honor the past, acknowledge the present, and look forward with hope. Feasts were held where the preserved foods of the season were shared generously, nourishing bodies and strengthening communal ties. Soft chants and the gentle strumming of lyres accompanied dances performed in honor of the gods. Movements flowing like the wind over snowy hills dot through song and story, prayer and offering. The Vikings reaffirmed their connection to the unseen forces that guided their lives and sustained their world. The Yule season was a powerful reminder that even in the coldest, darkest times, light could be found, kindled by faith, community, and the enduring human spirit. The flickering candlelight reflected softly in the eyes of the gathered, their faces a mix of awe, reverence, and quiet joy. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of sacredness, as if the longhouse itself breathed with the collective spirit of the tribe. Soft murmurs of prayers mingled with the crackling fire, the voices rising and falling in gentle cadence, creating a soothing tapestry of sound that enveloped all present. Garlands woven from evergreen branches, holly berries, and delicate strands of straw adorned the walls and rafters, filling the air with the fresh, crisp scent of the forest. These decorations symbolized life and renewal, a hopeful promise amidst winter's starkness. The warmth of the hearth radiated through the space, a tangible symbol of the gods' protection and the tribe's resilience. The fire's glow illuminated ancient carvings on wooden beams, depictions of deities, legendary beasts, and sacred symbols that connected the Vikings to their spiritual heritage. Elders moved quietly among the group, offering blessings and lighting additional candles to honor the gods and ancestors. Their hands, weathered by time and toil, moved with practiced grace, each gesture steeped in meaning. The Yule feast was more than nourishment. It was a sacred act of gratitude. Bowls of hearty stews, slices of smoked fish, and fresh bread made from stored grains were shared generously, reinforcing the bonds that held the community together. Songs, both solemn and jubilant, rose to fill the longhouse melodies carried from generations past, their notes weaving hope and strength into the very fabric of winter's embrace. The sacred fires of Yule burned long into the night, their flames a beacon of light and warmth in a world dominated by frost and shadow. Through these rituals, the Vikings reaffirmed their place in the cosmic order, drawing strength from the gods, the earth, and each other. The spirit of the season was one of renewal and endurance, a testament to the enduring human capacity to find light. Amidst darkness, the Yule fire's glow softened as the night deepened, wrapping the longhouse in a gentle warmth that echoed the enduring spirit of the tribe. In the quiet moments between songs and prayers, the Vikings reflected on the year past and the promise of the season to come. The soft scent of incense lingered, mingling with the earthy aroma of burning wood and the faint sweetness of honeyed mead. Garlands of evergreens swayed slightly in the draught, their needles whispering ancient blessings to those gathered below. The flickering shadows played across, faces bright with hope and reverence, eyes lifted toward the darkened rafters as if seeking guidance from the unseen. Children, soothed by the comforting sounds and scents, nestled close to their parents, their breaths slow and steady in the warmth of home. The rhythmic chanting of elders melded with the gentle strumming of a lyre, weaving a calming melody that wrapped around the hearts of all present. Through the sacred rituals of Yule, the Vikings found not only protection and prosperity, but a profound sense of connection to their gods, their ancestors, and the enduring cycles of nature. The festival was a beacon in the long winter's night, a circle of light and life that no darkness could overcome. The gentle glow of candlelight and firelight intertwined, casting a golden warmth across the faces gathered in reverence and celebration. The crackling flames whispered ancient stories, their flicker a timeless dance between light and shadow that mirrored the eternal cycle of seasons. Sacred chants rose and fell like the soft wind over snowy hills, carrying prayers for abundance, protection, and the return of the sun's life-giving warmth. The scent of pine, juniper, and burning herbs mingled with the rich aromas of spiced meats and honeyed mead, creating an atmosphere thick with tradition and hope. Garlands and wreaths adorned the space, their vibrant greens and reds a vivid contrast to the stark whiteness outside, symbols of life enduring through winter's grasp. The Vikings moved with grace and purpose, weaving ancient rites into the fabric of their lives, acts of faith that sustained them as surely as food and shelter. The Yule fire burned steadily, its embers glowing like the hearts of those gathered, resilient and bright against the cold night. Within the longhouse, beneath the watchful eyes of gods and ancestors, the Vikings found a sanctuary of warmth, light, and spiritual renewal. Season's rituals wrapped around them like a protective cloak, a sacred embrace that fortified both body and soul. Soft voices wove prayers and blessings into the air, each word a thread connecting the living to those who had come before. The ritual was both solemn and joyous, a delicate balance that honored the cycle of life, death, and renewal. The flickering candle flames danced with the shadows of carved wooden figures, representations of gods and spirits, believed to watch over the tribe, their presence a comforting force amid winter's chill. Offerings of mead and bread were raised in silent tribute, hands joined in gratitude and hope. The warm liquid's sweet scent mingled with the earthy aromas of burning pine and dried herbs. Songs carried through the longhouse, their melodies ancient and familiar, resonating deep within the hearts of those present. These songs were stories, prayers, and celebrations, expressions of identity woven into sound. Children, their faces illuminated by firelight, listened with wide eyes, absorbing the lessons and hopes carried in every note and tale. The rituals of faith and festivity intertwined seamlessly with daily life, reinforcing the Vikings' resilience and unity. Through these sacred ceremonies, they nurtured a spirit that could withstand the longest, darkest nights. The Yule season was a beacon, a promise that after the cold and darkness, warmth and light would return once more. The crackling hearth was the heart of the celebration, its warmth radiating comfort to all gathered. As flames danced and flickered, elders spoke softly of the gods' favor and the promise of returning light. The scent of burning pine mingled with fragrant herbs, rosemary, juniper, and sage, their smoke believed to cleanse and protect. Children, nestled in their parents' laps, their eyes heavy with wonder and sleep, soothed by the gentle hum of sacred chants and lullabies. The air was filled with a sense of renewal, a quiet joy that echoed through the longhouse walls and into the night beyond. In these moments, the Vikings found strength not only in their traditions but in their shared faith, a light to guide them through the coldest, darkest season. The Yule festival was a reminder of life's endurance, a celebration of the cycles that shaped their world and their lives. Within the glowing embrace of fire and fellowship, hope burned bright, a beacon for the days yet to come. The flickering flames cast shifting patterns on the wooden beams, their light dancing softly over faces marked by winter's trials and tempered by unwavering faith. The village gathered close, bound together by the sacred rituals that carried them through the darkest nights. The steady rhythm of chanting and song was a balm for weary souls, wrapping the community in a shared sense of purpose and hope. Garlands of holly and evergreen hung proudly, their vibrant colors defying the stark whiteness outside, symbols of life enduring against the cold and dark. The ancient rites, passed down through countless winters, grounded the Vikings in a timeless cycle, honoring the gods, celebrating survival, and welcoming the promise of renewal. The warmth of firelight and fellowship created a refuge from the relentless cold, a space where hearts could find peace and strength. The Yule festival was more than ceremony. It was a living testament to the Viking spirit, resilient, hopeful, and deeply connected to the rhythms of the natural world. As the night wore on, the community's shared faith illuminated the darkness, a beacon of light that no winter could extinguish. Soft embers glowed warmly as voices quieted, and the flickering candlelight cast a gentle serenity over the longhouse. The sacred flames, tended with reverence, symbolized the enduring spirit of the Vikings, a light to guide them through the coldest nights. Prayers were whispered in low tones, each word carrying a hope for protection, prosperity, and the strength to endure. The scent of burning herbs lingered, a calming presence that soothed restless minds and weary bodies. Family members huddled close beneath thick furs, sharing warmth and stories, their hearts buoyed by the knowledge that they were part of a community bound by faith and tradition. The Yule season's rituals forged an unbreakable bond between the living and the divine, between past and present, a sacred circle of continuity and hope. As the festival came to a close, the quiet peace of shared belief settled over the longhouse, wrapping the Vikings in a comforting embrace. Against winter's chill, the relentless winter demanded more than courage and tradition. It called for innovation born from necessity and honed by experience. The Vikings were masters of adaptation, their survival shaped by ingenious tools and clever techniques that often went unnoticed by history's broader gaze. Among these innovations was the remarkable design of their iron tools, finely forged blades, sturdy axes, and precise arrowheads crafted to withstand the harshest conditions. Blacksmiths employed sophisticated techniques to create metal that was both resilient and sharp, allowing for efficient hunting, woodcutting, and defense even in freezing temperatures. The cutting edges retained their strength despite repeated use against bone, wood, and ice, a testament to the Vikings' mastery of metallurgy. In clothing, the Vikings developed layering systems that combined natural materials to maximize warmth and mobility. They utilized techniques such as felting wool to create dense, wind-resistant fabrics and treated furs with oils to repel moisture. Footwear incorporated thick, flexible soles and insulating layers, enabling travel across icy terrain without loss of grip or warmth. One lesser-known innovation was the use of animal sinew and birch bark to create waterproof garments and coverings, protecting wearers from snow and rain. The Vikings' expertise extended to navigation as well. Even during winter's long nights, they skillfully used natural signs, stars, and early instruments like the sunstone to traverse frozen seas and coastal routes. These methods allowed voyages to continue, despite the challenges posed by reduced daylight and stormy weather. Their shelters incorporated ingenious features such as smoke holes designed to vent hearth smoke efficiently without losing heat, and layered walls combining wood, stone, and turf for superior insulation. The use of underground storage pits and cellars helped preserve food longer, protecting it from freezing temperatures and pests. Vikings also employed early forms of snowshoes and sledges, distributing weight across snow-covered surfaces to ease travel and transport of goods. Each of these innovations reflected a deep understanding of the environment and a resourcefulness born from centuries of living in tune with nature's demands. The Vikings' winter wisdom was not just practical, but a source of cultural pride, a testament to their resilience and ingenuity. Through these advancements, they forged a life not merely of survival but of adaptation, thriving in some of the world's most challenging conditions. The Vikings' craftsmanship extended to their weapons and tools, which were essential for hunting and survival in the frozen wilderness. Spears and arrows featured carefully shaped heads designed to penetrate thick animal hides and withstand icy conditions without breaking. The shafts were often made from resilient woods like ash or birch, selected for flexibility and strength. Knives, essential for daily tasks, were crafted with precision, their blades sharpened to a fine edge and securely fitted into handles made from bone, wood, or antler. Beyond weaponry, the Vikings invented multi-purpose tools, such as the axe, not only a weapon but also vital for chopping wood, building shelters, and crafting. These tools were meticulously maintained. Sharpening stones and oiling materials were kept close at hand to ensure their readiness at all times. On clothing innovation, the Vikings' use of layering was advanced for their time. They combined linen undergarments with thick woolen tunics and outer layers of fur, allowing for flexibility and warmth. They also developed techniques to waterproof certain garments using animal fats and waxes, helping to repel snow and rain during long travels. The integration of decorative elements, such as woven bands and embroidered patterns, served both aesthetic and functional purposes, reinforcing seams and providing additional layers of fabric for navigation during winter months when the sun was low or absent. Vikings employed natural tools and keen observation. The sunstone, a type of crystal, is believed to have been used to locate the sun's position through cloudy skies or fog, aiding in orientation during voyages. Additionally, the patterns of bird flight, ocean currents, and star constellations provided guidance when visibility was poor. Their knowledge of coastal landmarks and subtle environmental cues was extensive, allowing for safer travel and trade even in the harshest seasons. Shelters were engineered to maximize heat retention. The strategic placement of the longhouses protected them from prevailing winds, and entrances were often shielded by smaller vestibules or thick curtains made from hides. Roof constructions used layered thatch and turf, materials that provided insulation against cold and moisture. Inside, the arrangement of the hearth and sleeping areas was designed to channel warmth throughout the space efficiently. These architectural details, combined with the use of natural insulation materials like moss and straw, created environments that were surprisingly comfortable despite the external cold. The Vikings also employed sledges to transport goods and people across snow and ice. These sledges, often pulled by dogs or horses, had runners made from hardwood and were designed to glide smoothly over frozen surfaces. Snowshoes, made from flexible wood frames and animal sinew, distributed weight evenly to prevent sinking into deep snow, enabling hunters and travelers to move more efficiently. Through these practical innovations, the Vikings demonstrated a remarkable ability to thrive in environments that challenged even the hardiest of peoples. Their legacy is one of ingenuity and adaptation, lessons that continue to inspire awe and respect. The Vikings also developed early methods of food storage that went beyond simple preservation. They dug deep pits lined with straw and bark to create natural root cellars, keeping vegetables and other perishables safe from freezing temperatures and pests. These subterranean storage spaces maintained a stable, cool environment, extending the shelf life of food during the harsh winter months. In addition to root cellars, Vikings used thick wooden barrels sealed with pitch to store salted fish and meat, protecting these vital supplies from moisture and spoilage. Their understanding of fermentation was also sophisticated. They allowed milk and vegetables to ferment in sealed containers, creating nutrient-rich foods that were easier to digest and preserved longer. Waterproofed garments made from birch bark and treated hides provided additional protection against the damp, icy conditions. These materials, layered carefully, kept moisture at bay and warmth close to the skin, allowing Vikings to undertake long journeys or endure harsh weather with greater comfort. The use of animal sinew in sewing and binding was another innovation. Strong and flexible, sinew replaced thread and allowed garments and equipment to withstand the stresses of winter use. Vikings also crafted snow goggles from bone or wood, featuring narrow slits to reduce glare from the sun reflecting off snow and ice. These rudimentary sunglasses protected their eyes from snow blindness during bright winter days. Navigational tools, combined with a deep understanding of their natural surroundings, allowed Vikings to traverse frozen seas and treacherous terrain. With remarkable confidence, their innovations were not just responses to hardship, but reflections of a culture deeply attuned to the cycles of nature and the demands of survival. The gentle curiosity with which Vikings approached these challenges fostered a spirit of experimentation and adaptation that ensured their endurance through centuries of harsh winters. The Vikings' ingenuity extended to their methods of communication during the long, dark winters. They used carved wooden runes not only as writing but also as symbols imbued with spiritual significance, often carried as talismans to protect travelers and hunters against unseen dangers. These runes, etched with care and reverence, connected the Vikings to their ancestors and the mystical forces they believed guided their lives. Firelight illuminated the walls as families gathered to share knowledge and experiences, ensuring that wisdom about surviving winter was passed down through generations. Songs and chants told stories of innovation, reminding all of the cleverness required to thrive in a world of ice and snow. In their daily lives, Vikings employed simple but effective heating methods beyond the hearth. Portable braziers filled with hot stones provided localized warmth during travels or outdoor tasks. The Vikings' journey through winter is a story of strength, community, and the quiet power of faith and tradition. The longhouse, though quiet now, still hummed with the echoes of laughter, song, and shared stories, threads that wove a tapestry of belonging and resilience. The scent of pine smoke lingered, softly, mingling with the crisp winter air that seeped in through small cracks. reminding all of the balance between shelter and the wild beyond. Each breath, drawn within this sacred space, was a testament to survival, to the strength found not just in muscle and tool, but in heart and spirit. The flickering shadows danced gently, their movement like whispers of ancestors who had braved these same winters, their wisdom guiding those who followed. The night stretched on, a blanket of stars covering the frozen earth, silent yet alive with possibility. In this stillness, gratitude blossomed for the enduring warmth of fire and family, for the lessons of the land, and for the indomitable Viking spirit that carries forward through time.